Out of those 100, these 10 members, they tried like that to get to the food. Okay, and the other 90, they did not try much. What will happen? These 10 will have an elongated neck. This is called acquired trait. That means this is not in our genes. This is just acquired by practice. Okay? This is not in the genes. That is, in the next generation, automatically it will not be transferred. If our father had a big bicep, that doesn't mean the child also will have a big bicep. Because father went to gym, he developed biceps, but that doesn't necessarily mean, not necessarily, definitely, it will not get transferred to the child himself has to go to the gym. It will not happen because it is not in the genes. Okay, so this is called acquired trait. So, but this results in varieties. Same species, different members, according to, say, in one place this hunger problem was there, another place there was plenty of grass available on the ground. So in that place, those members would not have tried, to elongate their neck. But in this particular area where the grass was not available or whatever food was not available, they tried. Therefore, in this species, this elongation of neck. Next, what happens? Okay. So this is arrival of the fittest, and the next, what happens? Members with advantageous traits live longer and produce more offspring. So now, those members who had elongated neck, they have an advantage over other members of the same species who did not develop elongated neck, because they could access more food compared to those who did not have elongated necks. They could eat grass on the ground, they could also eat grass on the branches. So they had more advantages than compared to those members who did not have this elongated neck. This is an advantage. Now, according to Darwin, this elongated neck trait gets transferred to the offspring. This was misunderstanding of Darwin, because at the time of Darwin, genetics was not there. He had no idea of genetics. So he presumed that these acquired traits are transferred to the next generation. But acquired traits are not transferred. This was later on understood. But still, Darwin's theory was continued because neo-Darwinism came into existence. Neo-Darwinism. Neo-Darwinism means, yes, in the genetic material also with environmental pressure, and not with environmental pressure. In genetic material, there is random mutation. With each procreation or without procreation, there is time to time there is some random mutation. You understand this word mutation? Mutation means some change, little change, and random means without any specific reason. Random mutation in the genetic material. So, according to the present understanding, the neo-Darwinism, which incorporates the genetic understanding also, in genetic material there is always some random mutation which is happening. So, with this random mutation, may give some advantage to some member, may give disadvantage also because it is random. But anyway, according to the neo-Darwinism theory, it gives advantage to the particular members, and then this members they live longer and they can produce better, because those without that advantage they cannot live as long as these people because they have some advantage. Suppose the same advantage. They have access to the food available on the branches as well as on the ground. The other members, without that genetic mutation, they don't have that advantage. So, therefore, they will live for a shorter duration, and that means less chances to procreate. So, less chances to survive. Whereas those with mutations, genetic mutations, and resulting in some advantageous trait, they live longer, they procreate more, and they transfer their change to the next generation because genetic material is transferred to the next generation. So genetic mutation happens, and then this gets transferred to the next generation. So then further in this next generation, again there is some small mutation, random mutation, again some more advantage. Then again this is transferred to next generation. So then next generation is even more suitable for living. And like that, over a period of thousands and thousands of years, with each generation, there is some little small mutation, small mutation, small mutation. Mutation means the genetic material is changing. So over a period of 1,000 cycles or more than 1,000 cycles, what will happen? This species will be completely different from that new species. It will be called a new species because of that gradual change in the genetic material over a period of time. That individual will be so different that it cannot mate with the parent. So now it will be new species. Are you able to follow? It's a little biology involved here. Initially, there is one species and different members. Some members, they had genetic mutation, which was transferred to their offspring, and that genetic mutation resulted in some advantageous trait. Elongation of neck in this example. So they could survive more because they had more access to food compared to those members of the same species who did not have this genetic mutation. So they lived lesser, they procreated lesser. So they became extinct. Okay? And those who had this mutation, they survived longer, they procreated more. Okay, so this is survival of the fittest. Okay, and then this is repeated again and again and again. Every generation, repeated. The genetic material is changing, genetic material is changing, genetic material is changing, and with that changing, at one point it becomes different species. Initially, with a small change, it was only variety. A small change, it was only a different variety created. They could still mate together and produce fertile offspring. But over a period of time, with more and more changes in the genetic material, time comes when this member has drifted so much away from the original parent that it cannot mate with the parent member. So genetic material has changed so much. So that means now it has become a newer species. So this is how neo-Darwinists say that new species are created from parent species. Okay. Acquired advantageous traits are transferred to offsprings, and those who are unable to transfer, they become extinct. This is called survival of the fittest and struggle for existence. And population of the members increases. Those with advantageous traits, their population increases. This is called natural selection. And then this process is repeated again and again and with every step, every new generation, this process is repeated. And because of that, gradually, new species are created, and this is called evolution. Okay. Now, this is, in simple words, what is Darwin theory and basically neo-Darwinism. What it is. Okay. Now, what is the problem with that? The problem with that is that first of all, Darwin was wrong that acquired traits are transferred. So there is no arrival of fittest for nature to select. See, Darwin said survival of the fittest and natural selection. These are the two key words in Darwinism theory. survival of the fittest. Whoever is fit will survive. And in this way, nature will select those traits which fit, and by that selection, gradually new species are created. That is Darwin's theory. But these acquired traits are not transferred. So therefore, Darwin was a big blunder. Now you can say, okay, Darwin did blunder, but neo-Darwinism says genetic material mutations are there. Because of the mutations, new species are created. Okay. But what is the problem now with genetic mutation? We'll see. Survival of the fittest is wrong. Okay. Now, this genetic mutation, unlike environmental pressure, does not necessarily gives an advantage to the member. Just try to understand this point. Environmental pressure was like there is no grass available on the ground. There is grass available on the branches. So by this environmental pressure, the neck gets elongated, and this is an advantage to the member because now it can survive better. But just imagine, a member has a longer neck, and by genetic mutation, its neck becomes shorter because mutation can do anything. It is random. Environmental pressure is created in one direction, whereas random is random. It can just cause any change. It is not correlated with the need. It is random. You get this point? And it is seen that most of the random mutations are disadvantageous. Observation is most of the mutations, genetic mutations, are disadvantageous. Okay? In our body, and so many mutations keep on happening, but most of them are disadvantageous. They result in diseases, immune disorders, congenital disorders. So actually, this random mutation made the mechanism of Darwinism very weak in itself. Darwin's theory had a very strong basis. Yes, environmental pressure, and then because of that, changes happen. Traits, newer traits, which are advantageous. So it made some sense. It made some sense, but it was not true. That was the problem with that. And now, with genetic mutation theory, it is true that genetic mutations are transferred to the next generation, but it doesn't make sense. Because now there is no advantage. There is no guarantee of that genetic mutation will give advantage. Rather, it is seen that most of genetic mutations are disadvantageous. Are you following this point? So therefore, the whole thing about Darwinism has become very weak now. And now further thing, but the scientists were so enamored by this idea of Darwinism that they just believe that it is true. And yes, we will find out some evidence and that's okay, but it has to be like this one. Because it really gave science a very firm footing, that there is no God required and everything happens just by itself, by simple laws. So the science stream, they accepted this Darwin theory with great fervor, and they just thought it is true. And what happened because of that, even the evidences which went against Darwin theory, they knowingly or unknowingly rejected those evidences. And they just manufactured, created evidences. How? Now see your screen. Now this is a very regular picture which is taught in our textbooks throughout the world. This image is image of different embryos of different species. Like on the bottom, if you will see, there are like fish and human being on one extreme and fish on the other extreme. Okay. On the top, is the earliest stages of the embryo, and down they are the more evolved stages of the embryo. Now this picture shows that in the earlier stages, there is more similarity among the embryos of different species. But as the embryo evolves in the womb, then it becomes more and more distinguished from the others. Are you able to follow this point? Okay. So that means now this embryology shows, according to them, this embryology evidence is that actually we have evolved from common ancestor. Because that is Darwin theory, common ancestor. Initially there was only one form. And from that one form, different varieties and varieties gave rise to species, and different species evolved. So it is like a tree. Evolution is like a tree. We had a common ancestor. Like tree has many varieties and branches on the top, but down there is only one stem. So similarly, Darwinism means initially there was only one species, one form, and from that original parental form, different varieties of species evolved. Okay, so according to them, this from the embryology, it shows that the more earlier embryonic forms of different species showed more similarity. That shows that we all originated from a same parent. That is the logic. So logic is true, but the problem is this image is not true. So there is a biologist who has written many books on this. He said, I also have studied this book, this image from my school days. And then he went to a college and then my PhD and all this thing. He said, and then I was not just images, I was practically looking at forms in electron microscopes and all these things. At one time I realized that actually what we used to study, this image, is not what I'm seeing here. What practically I'm seeing is not like that, what I see. It's different. And the earliest stages also are different. So then it clicked to him, then what happened? Then from where this image came? So then he did investigation and he found that the scientist who made this image, he just drew it. It was not a factual image, it was just a drawing that they did. It was fake. But that scientist was so convinced that he thought, okay, let me draw it, it should be like this only. So therefore he termed it survival of the fakest. It's a fake, this image is fake image. It's not true. But we are all taught like that. Another example. This is again an image which is very commonly, now you would have seen in your biology textbooks this image. So how nicely it depicts, we came from monkeys, how step by step, from monkeys to gorilla and then man directed. Right? So again, when a student sees the image, they see, oh, how, yeah, it's perfect. Darwin was true. Perfect. How we evolved gradually step by step. But again, the problem is the image is not true. This is not me. How do we know that this happened? This is just drawn, this is just drawn. But when we are studying, we are not having that intelligence that all the teachers are there standing in the class and you see this happened like that, poor children. Okay. As if we saw somewhere this in these different stages, somewhere there, and it appears like that. So sure, it's there. But these are all made images. So what is the basis of this image? That archaeological survey. The idea is the fossil deposits. So to back up Darwinism, archaeological survey was done, investigation, that if Darwin is true, then when we dig in the different layers of earth, what happens many times when some organism dies, it is covered by mud or different things in such a way that the body does not decompose. Rather, it becomes what is called fossilized. There is a specific mechanism by which it doesn't get decomposed, but the form just remains as it is, ingrained in those layers. Okay, the bones remain as it, they don't further decompose. These are called fossil remains of that particular organism. So, if Darwin is true that we have evolved, first there was one species and then we evolved gradually with time into different species, then what do you expect as you go deeper and deeper into the earth? What do you expect? That in the deeper layers, there you will find less variation, less number of species, and as you move up in the more recent layers, because earth also according to them, different layers are deposited with time. The older layers means these are, sorry, deeper layers means they are older layers. And on the top, newer layers. Okay. So deeper layer means older layer means less number of species. Okay. More layers on the surface are newer layers. There, what we should expect? More number of species. Okay. So, so they did these things. But what happened? There have been many fossil remains found of modern man, but dating some thousands and thousands of years. So when scientists discover such artifacts, they think there must be something accident. By accident, this artifact, though it should be in the top layer, somehow it got buried in the deeper. It doesn't belong to the deeper layer, but it's just by accident it happened. So they just rejected it. And similarly, this one or two images in between, they are called missing link. They were not able to find any remains in the layers of intermediate stage, but they made it by hand. And this is the missing link they just placed there. And in our textbook, you just see as if everything is just simple stuff. So like that. So he has written this book, very nice book. You can read this. Icons of Evolution, Science or Myth. This is Jonathan Wells. I was talking to you about this person. So here he describes how so much of knowingly or unknowingly, these records which are against Darwinism, they are being removed. So, so these are all the famous evidences of Darwinism evolution. The Darwinism happened. Fossil evidences, the molecular evidences, the Stanley Miller's experiment, and the Darwin's species. I will not be able to touch on all these things. It's more time, but just because I'm just introducing this topic to you today. So just fossil evidences I just discussed how it goes against it. So some more slides to that. Now you see, this is one paleontologist. Paleontologists are those who study these fossil records. So he says, we are now about 120 years after Darwin, and the knowledge of fossil record has been greatly expanded. Ironically, we have even fewer examples of evolutionary transition than we had in Darwin's time. So with archaeological more and more investigation, we are having observations which go against Darwin. Now, another important thing. This is the expected graph. That means if we do examination of the fossil remains, as the time goes, we should see more and more number of species, as I told you this tree. But actually what we have observed is what is called as Cambrian explosion. That 600 million years ago, in those layers of the earth which are 600 million years old, we practically find no species, no fossil record, no species. And then suddenly within 10 million years, we find that in the layers which are of that age, we find all species suddenly arise, not gradually one by one arise, everything suddenly, and then they just stay there. So there is no archaeological support to show that Darwinism is true. Are you able to follow this point? So there is a book written, Forbidden Archaeology, which gives accounts of hundreds and hundreds of archaeological remains which go against Darwinian evolution. Okay. So this book, you can see a short version of this is this hidden history of human race. Some examples from that. 55 million years old stone tools discovered. 55 million years old. And according to Darwin evolution, we just evolved recently, 50,000 years or 1 lakh years. But this is 55 million years old. Now you see, this is a newspaper clipping. In 1852, 600 million years old flower vase discovered. And this is our Vedic account. That millions and millions, this age of earth, this Kali Yuga, presently we are living, 5,000 years only has gone. And now this is Brahma's middle of the life. Okay. In Brahma's 12 hours, there are how many cycles of Satyuga, Dwapara, Kali Yuga? Thousands. 1,000 cycles. So that means, and that is just one day. You know, Brahma is present. We are living in that Brahma's age is now 50 years. So this universe is millions and millions and millions years old. And the universe is there, and the human beings, advanced human beings are there from beginning. All the species exist with creation from the beginning, and that is what we are actually seeing. Similarly, if you would have studied in the biology textbooks, there is this Stanley Miller's experiment, chemical evolution of life. I don't know whether you remember or not. We were all into mathematics and physics. So this is one Stanley Miller who showed that in his beaker, in his laboratory, he did some experiment, and by that it is understood, it is propagated that Stanley Miller showed that life came from chemicals. What he did, he put some in a jar, he put some chemicals, and he passed electric current through that chemical substance. And after a few days, he investigated that chemical mixture and found out that some new chemicals were generated. Some amino acids were created. Amino acids are very important building blocks of living form. So some amino acids were generated. And from that it was concluded that Stanley Miller experiment has proved that life has come from chemicals. Because by that passage of electric current, some amino acids were produced. Therefore, life might have been produced from chemicals. But this might have been word gets removed from the textbooks and it comes. Therefore, Stanley Miller experiment shows life has evolved from chemicals. There is a big might have. It's just a probability. Just imagine, amino acids are not life. It is clearly understood. Just by producing some amino acids, you can't say that it is life. Amino acids are just some chemicals. Okay. And then the interesting thing is, the amino acids which were produced by Stanley Miller's experiment, those amino acids are not found in any living form. They are found in non-living things. But still, they proclaim that. So, ultimately, what Stanley Miller himself is, there are two people, Stanley Miller. They further said in 1991 that origin of life has turned out to be much more difficult than I and most other people envisioned. He himself is accepting that. But poor children in the textbooks, they are just taught the same old thing that Stanley Miller experiment proved, and life has come from that. Because this Darwin evolution theory, though Darwin did not talk of chemical evolution, but that is what his theory says, that if we go further, life originated from chemicals, and then very simple life forms were created, and then from them all these complex life forms were born. Thus, modern scientific investigation points to the fact that life is beyond matter. Darwinian account has failed to explain evolution of complex life forms from the simpler ones. This is the evidence what is ultimately is leading us to understand these things. The Darwinian account has failed to explain evolution of complex life. It's just a theory. It has not been proved by scientific observation. We have not been able to create even the simplest forms of life from matter. That is much more stronger point. That okay, if life has just come from chemicals, then why presently life is not coming from chemicals? And presently, why not? From one life form, we are able to see any evolution of different species now. Now we have hormones, we have chemicals which can expedite the cycle of living forms with hormones. So we can do that faster. So, but still, like say we take chemicals and then we can put enzymes, catalysts, which can make the reaction very fast, sequence very fast. But still, they are not able to create any life from chemicals. And once that, we cannot revive any living forms. Still today. So if life has come from chemicals, if ultimately there is no difference between life and chemicals, then we should be able to at least create some very simple, some bacteria in the laboratory from chemicals. But it has not been possible. So therefore, it's not true that life has come from chemicals, but rather life comes from life. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada's book has been compiled based on Srila Prabhupada's conversation with different scientists, that life comes from. Now, this is a very important thing for us, because this will change our worldview. If we understand, if we think it true that life has come from chemicals, our goal of life, our whole worldview, our values, everything will be different as compared to if we accept it as true that life has not come from chemicals, but life comes from. If we are not just chemicals, if life is completely different from chemicals, and then we need to understand what is the need of that life. Now we are just thinking material enjoyment is what is our enjoyment. But if we are not matter, if we are completely different from matter, then we are forced to think then actually who we are. But if you think we are just chemicals, then we are just chemicals. But very wonderful thing, can science explain how these chemicals, this bunch of chemicals have developed this desire to enjoy? How the chemicals can develop a desire? And that they can enjoy, and that they can experience some happiness. Any formula, any science can explain still today? No. Okay. Why? One scientist writes, why there is something and not nothing? What is the answer to that? There is something, we exist. Why there is something instead of being nothing? It's a very deep question. We just take it for granted, no? Yeah. Existence is. But there could have been no existence also, no? Why existence is instead of non-existent? There is a possibility, no? Nothing might, there's nothing. No existence. So, what are the answers to such deep questions? So similarly, this very important question is raised by this study that we are not chemicals, and life has not just evolved by itself. So then how life has evolved? Why we see different varieties of living creatures? A thoughtful man should observe and should be able to see why. Very important question, why? We are evading this question, why? How? But why is important. So why we see variety? Why there are dogs, cats, plants, and human beings and so many varieties? Why? How this variety has come? So what is the Vedic account of this genesis of living beings? Just in short. According to Vedas, Janmadhyasya, there is a supreme life called God. He creates different living forms. So original, there is life, and this life, we are also part and parcel of that life, the souls. And we are awarding these different bodies, cat body, dog body, plant body, based on our desires and our karma. So there is a very sensible explanation of why these different forms exist. Because according to karma and according to desire, different living forms are created. Like if you go in any shop, there will be different varieties of clothing. Why a shop has different varieties of clothing? Because there are people with different sizes, with different choices and different pocket size. So therefore, there is different variety. So similarly, there are different life forms because the soul has different desires, and different karma action, which generates different reactions. So to accommodate those desires, there are different forms. So if in say human form, we have a particular desire, say we have a desire to eat non-veg, then by Supreme Lord, we are awarded a body in the next life more suitable for to fulfill this desire. Human body is not suitable to eat non-veg. This is not suitable. The form of dog or lion is much more suitable to eat non-veg. Scientifically, there are reasons. Human intestine is very small. This intestine of carnivores, lion and all, is very small. But human intestine is like the intestine of the cows, herbivores, very long. And the acid content in the stomach. For those who are carnivores, their acid content is very high because to digest the meat needs that high concentration of hydrofluoric acid. Whereas human beings, they don't have that. And eating this non-vegetarian diet has been connected to intestinal cancers. In our textbooks, we have read how this study and this correlation that life forms are there to accommodate different desires. These are some slides. I may not be able to go in detail of that. Lord Brahma, the most intelligent personality in the material world, he's our common ancestor. Darwinism, we are talking of common ancestor. So we have a common ancestor, but that common ancestor is not bacteria. That common ancestor is Brahma. That's the difference. Our ancestor was the most intelligent person. And with advancement of age, we are becoming less and less intelligent, less and lesser age.
Okay, but according to Darwin, we evolved from bacteria and we are becoming more and more intelligent. Therefore, modern man is considered to be the proof of Darwinism. That you see, modern man has progressed, and our old generation people, they were primitive. That shows that we are evolving. So this modernization is taken as a proof of development. But then we saw that this whole idea of progress is anyway is an illusion, because we are creating newer and newer things. But is that progress? Because that is more and more entangling us. That is, we are creating more and more problems for us. By that progress today, our whole existence has come into question with this nuclear warfare, with this environmental crisis. So will you call it really a progress? This is madness, correct? So therefore, this idea of progress and this idea of Darwin evolution, it is all not true, has not been proved true by science at least. This we should understand. Therefore, we should be open for the newer paradigm, other paradigm. And one very important paradigm is Vedas. What is the Vedic account of how things have evolved and everything? What is the purpose of life and everything? So therefore, these presentations are meant to invoke interest in our Vedic literature. So with that, I will stop today's session. Hare Krishna. So we can take one or two questions now. Living forms. Yes. Because and not most of us, all of them. Yes, all of them. Because in living forms, they are what do we call levorotatory. Amino acids have got right-handed amino acids and left-handed amino acids. Molecular structure, there are two varieties, left-handed amino acids and right-handed amino acids. So in the living forms, we find only left-handed amino acids. But in the beaker, Stanley Miller found only the right-handed amino acids. So those variety of amino acids are not at all found in the living forms. Huh? पास हो गए आप अच्छे से. Yeah. Okay. So shall we stop here? Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Tomorrow we will discuss another connected topic, which is consciousness, the missing link. What is this mystery of consciousness? Can science explain consciousness? This will read historically. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Now 12:30. Yeah, it will be the same class as I gave yesterday. So you can all be over. Same idea. Same thing. Yeah, I have given to them also. Oh, but we are already disconnected now. That's still going on? Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
एक मिनट. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one question. Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask one question. Like, why is it that some species are getting extinct right now? Like, like there was some species of bird that got extinct. So that means like there were some species at that time which were there, and right now they are not present. So isn't it?
I couldn't hear the last part of your question. Question is that why some species seem to means are getting extinct. Uh, then does it not
Yes,
mean that
Prabhuji.
what was the last part? So because of that, that does it mean that what?
That humans were also not present at that time, and we just appeared at the middle of.
No, you see, even now, suppose there are whatever species are now. Suppose you kill like Jews, they all killed the Jews. That doesn't mean that Jews evolved like that. So just because some species, there is no direct logical connection between if some species get extinct, that means that we have evolved. That means human beings were also not present at one time. And another thing is, what Prabhupada says that we are only seeing a very small, tiny part, and we are declaring that this species has got extinct. Have we gone through all the universe that these species are not there? So actually, our range of experimentation is very limited. So therefore, Prabhupada says no species get extinct actually. You may not be able to see them, but we are very proud of our seeing sight power. So there are, we have not gone, we cannot actually, there are many, there is life on every planet. So to say that some form has become extinct, it is not so. And even if it gets
Yes, Prabhuji.
extinct,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I
that
got the
doesn't,
answer.
yeah, okay. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay then, you can turn it off. नहीं अभी मैं इसमें से ही करूंगा अभी मैं इसमें से नहीं अभी मैं डायरेक्ट अपना या नहीं इसमें अच्छा हाँ ट्राइपॉड यू कैन गिव या इससे करेंगे हाँ अच्छा सो दे विल जस्ट जॉइन एंड यू विल एडमिट देम अच्छा ओके ओके अच्छा ओके एंड यही सब कैसे वॉइस जा रहा है हमको वहां तक जा रहा है ओके ठीक है और क्वेश्चन बाद में पूछेंगे डिस्कशन होगा तो आई विल बी एबल टू हियर देम अच्छा अच्छा तो आप में से कोई यहाँ रहना अगर बीच में कुछ डिस्टर्ब हो गया तो फिर पूरी मीटिंग हो जाए ठीक है ओके देन आप लोग जा सकते कल वाला टॉपिक है प्रोग्रेस नहीं You will be seeing whether they are joined. There's only one. मतलब एक ही जगह से वो लोग सब एक साथ बैठ करके. Yeah. I am using this mic inbuilt here. हाँ मेरे वाले इसमें लेकिन इसका ईयरफोन मतलब आता है उसमें लगता है उसमें जिसमें कि आपका ये चार्जिंग पोर्ट लगता है ना सी टाइप. अच्छा जी आप ले आए तो पानी हमेशा थोड़ा कम भरा होना चाहिए क्योंकि हम ऊपर से पीते हैं ना तो ऊपर से पीने पूरा भरा होता है तो वो गिर जाता है. रख दीजिए. ओके anybody has come? नहीं.
ISKCON Bhopal. प्रभु
ओके
हरे कृष्णा दंडवत प्रणाम. कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा South India.
am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Maybe you will have only audio.
Słuchajcie, no widzę, bo ja się nie tak potrzeba wypnął Wi-Fi na swoim telefonie. Jest to 30 lat. Tam problem, nie? Bo są prawie sygnał.
Okay. Here I'm. This is Bhopal का सीन आ गया यहाँ पर. ओ चलिए आएगा शायद ना.
Yeah. You understand?
Okay. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीतःपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाल Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Sankirtan Prabhu, I will speak one statement, one line, and you will translate. Hare Krishna. Sankirtan Prabhu, you have to unmute yourself.
Good idea. Thank you. Yes, I will translate line by line.
Line by line. Okay. So today I will speak something on illusion of progress.
Dneska budu mluvit něco o iluzi pokroku.
To begin the topic, I will read from Nectar of Instruction, a small paragraph by Srila Prabhupada.
Na začátku přečtu krátký odstavec z Nektaru pokynu od Šrily Prabhupády.
Srila Prabhupada writes, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking.
Prabhupáda píše, lidský život je určený pro jednoduché žití a hluboké myšlení.
Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work.
A od nepaměti jsou všechny živé bytosti pod kontrolou třetí Kršnovy energie a je to uděláno tak, že všechny živé bytosti jsou nuceny pracovat.
If people are advised not to collect too many goods, eat too much, or work unnecessarily to possess artificial amenities, they think they are being advised to return to a primitive way of life.
Když je lidem dávána rada, že nemají číst příliš mnoho knih, bylo to na začátku, potom, že nemají dělat tolik zbytečné práce a mají se spokojit s jednoduchými životními potřebami, tak si myslí, že se tím vrací k primitivnímu životnímu stylu. To nevypadá moc dobře dneska. Spadnul Bhopal, to je svolavatel meetingu. Já bych to taky zkusil přesto, ale... Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, just one network problem. I will just change over the network.
Okay. Není to nic moc, už jsme tady měli lepší přenosy teda, že? To je jeden z těch nejhorších, asi to vypadá. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. No jo, oni se všichni připojují. Kanajtákur.
Hare Krishna.
Nebo taky nemá teďka video žádné ještě?
Jsem tě tady nepůjdám do toho tady.
Sankirtan Prabhu,
Yes.
am I audible?
You are audible, but there is somebody else audible who should be switched off. I think Kanajtákur. Mute, jo, vypněte si zvuk, jo? Kanajtákur účet, ktd. Ať to... Mutněte se.
Můžeš mít ty? Můžeš mít ty.
Jo. OK, let's start.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you finished with the translation of the last statement, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Generally, people don't like to accept plain living and high thinking.
Obecně lidé neradi přijímají jednoduchý život a hluboké myšlení.
That is their unfortunate position.
To je jejich velké neštěstí.
So, where this idea that simplicity is equated with backwardness come from?
Tak odkud pochází tento koncept, že jednoduchost se rovná primitivnosti?
This is our topic of discussion today.
Takže to budeme dneska diskutovat, toto téma.
Presently, we see that throughout the world, the common understanding is that we are progressing.
Vidíme, že po celém světě takové běžné porozumění je, že děláme pokrok.
Our ancestors were primitive.
A naši předchůdci nebo předci byli primitivní.
And therefore, whatever new advances we make, new inventions we make, they are proof of our advancement.
A proto jakékoliv vynálezy učiníme v dnešní době, tak to je důkaz toho, že děláme pokrok.
And there is a notion or understanding that this progress will continue eternally, forever, infinitely.
A ve skutečnosti je takové povědomí, které je mezi lidmi rozšířeno, že si myslí, že tento pokrok to půjde nekonečně, to půjde pořád dál.
This progress is can be equated with techno-optimism. That is, we have great hope in advancement of science and technology.
A tady tato myšlení se dá vlastně označit termínem techno-optimismus, což je myšlenka toho, že je tady veliká naděje toho, že uděláme pokrok v oblasti vědy a technologie.
The hope is that technology will solve all our problems.
A ta naděje, to doufání je, že ta technologie vyřeší všechny naše problémy.
Not only it will solve all the problems, but it will give us access to so many different products which we have never imagined earlier.
A nejenom, že to vyřeší naše problémy, ale také nám to dá přístup k mnoha různým produktům, které jsme si vůbec nedokázali dříve představit, že by mohly existovat.
And with human intelligence being applied, there is no limit to this progress in terms of science and technology.
A přemýšlí se tak, že tady není žádné omezení, žádný limit tady tomu technologickému pokroku v rámci lidského výzkumu.
So, just a small historical background of how this idea of progress became so rampant and so deeply ingrained in our psychology.
A tak si uděláme jenom takový krátký jakoby nástin minulosti, jak se dostala tady tato myšlenka toho pokroku nekonečného do povědomí všech lidí a je tak vlastně prominentní.
The present scientific society we are living in is rooted in the era of Renaissance, which happened in Europe in around 14th, 15th century.
A ta dnešní doba je vlastně, která je ve světě, v moderním světě, tak je zakořeněná do období renesance, které probíhalo v Evropě 14. a 15. století.
This period of Renaissance is called, it replaced the Middle Ages, which are called the Dark Ages. So with Renaissance came the light, enlightenment era.
A toto období renesance je nazýváno jako období, které ukončilo to období středověku, které se neslo, jako by řekl nechvalný termín, temný věk a přineslo osvícení, přineslo světlo lidem.
Before this Renaissance, in the Middle Ages, we see upsurge of Christianity.
A před touto renesancí tak můžeme vidět, že křesťanství velice intenzivně narůstalo.
And Christianity, if traced further, it replaced the Roman civilization, which in turn replaced the Greek civilization.
A když jdeme do minulosti, tak křesťanství ono nahradilo tou římskou civilizaci a předtím řeckou.
So before Christianity, till it was Greek civilization and Roman civilization, people understood time to be cyclic.
Před křesťanstvím, během toho období římské a řecké říše, a tak lidé chápali čas jako cyklický.
It can be said actually that Greek civilization had its roots in Vedic civilization, because there are many similarities, many things drawn from the Vedic civilization, we can say.
A můžeme taky říct, že řecká kultura, řecká civilizace měla své kořeny ve védské civilizaci, protože je tam mnoho věcí, které jsou podobné a které vychází z té védské doby.
So one of the element which was common was accepting the time to be cyclic. That means as seasons repeat every year, similarly time also repeats.
A jeden ze společných konceptů těchto dvou kultur byl cyklický čas, kdy stejně jako se nám střídají roční období, tak se ten čas točí vlastně.
So when the time is cyclic, then what is progress? Because time is cyclic. Everything will get changed and will be again revived, and same thing will go again and again in cycles. So if we accept time to be cyclic, there is practically no scope of progress within this material world.
A když máme cyklický koncept času, tak kde je jaká otázka pokroku, protože když je čas cyklický, tak to vždycky jako jde zase znovu zpátky, to znamená nějaký pokrok bude, pak se to zase všechno rozpadne, vrátí se to k nějakým základům a tak dále. Takže nějaká naděje na pokrok v tomto hmotném světě vlastně není možná.
And the progress was primarily equated with salvation. That is coming out of this cycle altogether. But while remaining in the cycle, there is no concept of progress.
A ten koncept toho pokroku byl vlastně stotožňován s tím, že člověk opustí tento cyklus, dosáhne osvícení a cokoliv vlastně se děje v tomto cyklu, že v něm člověk zůstává, tak nemůže být považováno za pokrok.
So in Vedic culture also we can clearly see how there was a concept of reincarnation, that we come again and again here. Time is cyclic and we come again and again here.
A ve védské kultuře to můžeme vidět taky velice zřejmě, jak je vnímán cyklický čas a taky reinkarnace, jak my sem přicházíme znovu a znovu a čas existuje taky v takových cyklech znovu a znovu.
Therefore, intelligent people in Vedic culture were not interested in making material advancement, because everything will be undone. We will just come back to the same point again. But the real progress was considered to be the stopping cycle of birth and death.
A proto inteligentní lidé se nezabývali nějakými výhledy nějakého materiálního pokroku, protože to všechno bude zase nakonec zničeno a jediný pokrok, který byl považován za hodnotný, tak je ukončit rození a smrt.
But then, around 2000 years back, when Christianity became the great force in the Western world, this understanding changed. Time then was gradually accepted to be linear instead of being cyclic.
A když přišlo křesťanství, tak začalo být vlivný na světě, tak přišlo s jiným konceptem a čas se začal vnímat lineárně místo jako cyklicky.
Because according to Bible, God created earth for the first time at a particular time, and then we are here, and if we accept Jesus Christ and his way, then we will be sent to heaven, otherwise to hell, and it will be forever. That means time is linear.
A tam vlastně přišli s tím konceptem, protože Bůh stvořil zemi poprvé, jednou ji stvořil v určitém čase a teď jsme tady teď my a postupně buď jako uvěříme v Ježíše Krista a přijmeme ho a půjdeme do nebe, nebo v něj neuvěříme, nepřijmeme ho a půjdeme do pekla a to už bude navždy obojí. Takže čas je lineární.
So another interesting thing to be noted here is that because of this upsurge of Christianity and this idea of linear time, from that time started documentation of history, recording the history that started at that time.
A co je zajímavé, že z historie se začala zaznamenávat taky v této době, když se začal přijímat ten koncept lineárního času.
Because the very fact that there is history, it corresponds to linear time. Because if time is cyclic, then practically there is no chronological history because things just repeat themselves in cycles.
A protože když je ten koncept toho cyklického času, tak není potřeba zaznamenávat všechnu tu historii, protože to se všechno opakuje v cyklech.
Therefore, we see that in our Vedas, Puranas, Itihasas, they are histories, but they are not written in any chronological way.
Specificky ta chronologie toho není zaznamenávána. Vidíme v Puránách, Itihásách a dalších písmech naší tradice, tak je zaznamenána historie, ale není podána chronologicky.
And to those scholars, the Indologists, the modern present-day scholars, to them it look very funny. You know, what type of history there is in Vedas. Sometimes they say this event, then suddenly they will go to the old event, suddenly then they will come to the newer event. Haphazard. They find it haphazard.
A moderní jako indologové a tak dále to považovali za dost zvláštní a vtipné, jak jsou sestaveny ty védy a nechápali, proč se mluví tady o té historii nedávné, najednou velice dávné, pak zase nedávné a všechno je to takový, jak bych řekl, pomatený.
But actually the reality is because the different worldview in the Vedic traditions, it is not important to maintain chronological history because it's going to be repeated again and again. So there's no point in just maintaining a chronological record.
Ale tam je vlastně jenom ten úplně rozdílný pohled na svět a ve védské kultuře se nepovažovalo za důležité zachovávat ten chronologickou historii, protože ty věci se budou dít znovu a znovu a tím pádem není podstatné, kdy se přesně staly.
The purpose of history, Itihas and Purana was to enumerate events which were in relation to God and great devotees so that we can learn something substantial from those accounts.
A význam těchto záznamů, které se zapisovaly do těch védských spisů jako historické události, bylo zapsat věci, které jsou spojené s Pánem nebo jeho oddanými, aby nám dali nějakou inspiraci a mohli nás povzbudit v duchovním životě.
So anyway, the point is that 2000 years back, this great change happened in people's worldview, that people gradually started to believe that time is linear, and therefore that idea of progress practically started from that time onwards.
A každopádně věc je ta, že v tu dobu před těmi 2000 lety lidé začali přijímat ten koncept toho lineárního času a díky tomu začala být prominentní ta myšlenka toho pokroku.
But still, during the Dark Ages, so-called Dark Ages, the medieval ages, the idea of progress was not very much applied to development of material resources. It was primarily based on the Christian understanding. It was applied to the idea that progress means you go to heaven.
A i tak v těch takzvaných temných dobách toho středověku, tak i tam ten pokrok nebyl stotožňován nutně s materiálním technickým pokrokem, ale spíše byl viděn v křesťanských termínech toho, že člověk postupně dosáhne toho, že může jít do nebe.
But then, at around 14th century, 15th century, there were thinkers who gradually came up with ideas that actually we can explore this world and show how whatever is given in the Bible is true, and we can explore God's creation. With that idea, they started exploring this world and gradually coming up with newer and newer science and technology at that time.
A v tom 14. 15. století tak určitý přemýšliví lidé přišli s myšlenkou toho, že my můžeme opravdu zkoumat podrobit výzkumu celý tento svět a dokázat, že to, co říká Bible, je pravda, jak to tady Bůh stvořil, jak je to úžasné. A začali přicházet s různými obory vědy a zkoumání této přírody.
So the very first thinkers of this enlightenment era, they were devoted Christians, and that was their idea. But sooner they found that whatever they were able to observe by their new science and new technology, many times it was contradicting the biblical account.
A když takto oni byli zbožní, tady tihleti lidé a dělali různé výzkumy, ale často přicházeli k věcem, když zkoumali na základě svých možností fenomény tohoto světa, tak přicházeli do situací, že si to odporovalo z Biblí.
For example, the age of Earth, when estimated by scientific way, it appeared to be much older than what is said in the Bible.
I třeba věk Země se zdál být mnohem delší, než to, co naznačovala Bible.
Similarly, Copernicus, he saw through his telescope further beyond the clouds, and he could not see God sitting on the clouds.
A Kopernikus, on svým dalekohledem se podíval daleko za mraky a vůbec tam žádného Boha neviděl sedět.
So the priests, the Pope, could not explain these contradictions. Rather, they just forcibly tried to crush these new thinkers.
A ta církev a papež, tak oni neměli vysvětlení pro tyto nové výzkumy a tak se raději snažili nějakým způsobem potlačit tyto nové myslitele.
As a result of this, gradually the new science which was developing there drifted more and more away from Christianity.
A postupně takto ta nová věda, která tam začínala, tak byla více a více odchýlena, oddělena od křesťanství.
And to the extent that the later scientists, thinkers, they made the premise that to explain this world, there is no need of God.
Až do té míry, že postupně tito lidé začali tvrdit, že k tomu, abychom mohli vysvětlit a pochopit tento svět, nepotřebujeme Boha.
Another important thing which happened with the Renaissance was that the thought that knowledge should be applied to develop natural resources, to exploit natural resources, to enjoy this world became more and more accepted.
A taky, co se v to období renesance stalo, je, že ta myšlenka toho, že můžeme vykořisťovat a nějakým způsobem využívat všech zdrojů této přírody, této země, k tomu bychom si mohli více a více užívat, tak byla více přijímána.
Now, this is another important thing to note, that this is a common factor with every civilization, that in the beginning there are thinkers, philosophers who give more stress to the spiritual development.
A vidíme, že v těch dobách byli i myslitelé, kteří dávali větší důraz i na ten duchovní rozvoj.
But then, over a period of time, the focus shifts from spiritual development to material development.
Ale postupně ty myslitelé se stávali více a více materialistickými, ty další generace.
With material development comes the desire to dominate, to control, and to develop, to exploit natural resources for enjoyment.
A s tím materiálním zaměřením přichází jakoby tendence vykořisťovat, ovládat, manipulovat hmotu pro vlastní požitek.
And when that happens, then the civilization dies.
A když se toto stane, tak civilizace umírá.
So therefore, there is one person, Durant. He stated that a nation is born stoic and dies Epicurean, which means when a civilization begins, they are not after sense gratification. They are. Please.
Jeden filozof říká, že když se rodí civilizace, tak začíná jako stoicky, to znamená, nechcou žádný smyslový požitek, tím to začíná, takže ta civilizace nechce požitek.
So people work hard and they are not after unnecessary sense gratification and morality is there, things develop. Yeah.
Takže lidé tvrdě pracují, nechtějí moc smysl požitku, pracují na svých morálních hodnotách.
So with that development comes knowledge and power, but then there comes the desire to exploit natural resources and to enjoy this world.
A pak postupně přijde poznání a postupně síla, možnosti a nakonec přijde i touha si užívat tohoto světa a tím to zase začne upadat.
This is Epicurean. Epicurean means indulging in sense gratification, and that means after that the death of the civilization happens.
Takže to je to Epicurean. To znamená, že se člověk zaměstná ve smyslovém požitku a v ten okamžik ta smrt té civilizace nastává.
There is one study done by one person called Sorokin, in which he investigated the relationship between spiritual advancement and material advancement of any civilization.
A tady jeden myslitel, který udělal výzkum, kde porovnává duchovní a materiální pokrok v různých civilizacích.
So he studied the Greek civilization, the Roman civilization, and he found out that in any civilization, spiritual advancement and material advancement are inversely proportionate. That means they are related against, means if one increases, the other decreases.
A zjistil, že v jakékoliv civilizaci, zkoumal řeckou, římskou a mnoho dalších civilizací, tak zjistil, že v každé civilizaci ten materiální a duchovní důraz a zaměření na ten pokrok je vždycky v nepřímé úměře. To znamená, když je víc materiálního pokroku, je méně toho duchovního a obráceně.
So, therefore, in our present civilization, we are seeing the same pattern that with Renaissance, with the progress applied to material advancement, newer and newer technology and science developing, people are becoming more materialistic and therefore proportionately less interested in spiritual advancement.
A to vidíme i v pořádcích tady této civilizace, kdy vlastně lidé začali být, v té renesanci začali být více a více zaměření na ten materiální pokrok a ten sklon k těmu duchovnímu životu postupně klesá.
So, in nutshell, with this enlightenment era, this idea of progress became obsession.
A v tuto dobu té renesance, kdy byla ta vize toho pokroku, tak s tím začali být lidé posedlí.
Francis Bacon, he was one of the very important figures responsible for this enlightenment era. He said, knowledge is power.
A Francis Bacon to byl velice důležitou klíčovou osobou pro celé to osvícenství. A tak on řekl, že poznání je síla.
So if we see at the time of Aristotle in the Greek civilization, he said that he said two terms. One is just be satisfied with your basic household needs. That is what we should do. And another idea is to just become wealthy, to accumulate wealth, and that is not good.
A v době jakoby toho starověkého Řecka, tak Aristotela a tak dále, tak říkal, že jsou dvě věci. Buď první byla, že se snažíme rozvíjet duchovně, je to tak? Že jsme spokojení s těmi velice jednoduchými, nezbytnými věcmi, jednoduchou chýší a tak dále. A druhá je, že se snažíme hromadit majetek. To jsou jenom dvě věci.
But now with this concept of progress, the idea came that acquiring more and more things, becoming wealthy, that is progress and that will make us happy.
Ale s tady tím obdobím té renesanci přišlo myšlení, že zhromažďovat více a více bohatství a majetku, tak to je pokrok a to nás učiní více a více šťastnými.
So Christianity said that progress means go to paradise, but enlightenment era said we will make paradise on the earth right now here.
A křesťanská éra říká, pěkně pracujte na sobě, udělejte pokrok a pak můžete se dostat do ráje, do nebes. Ale tady tato období renesance říká, tak ne, pracujme pěkně, udělejme pokrok a dostaňme se do ráje, ale uděláme si ráj tady, na té zemi.
And in this Renaissance era, soon after that, America became the center point of this thought that we are progressing and this progress is going to be unlimited.
A postupně vlastně v tu dobu tak Amerika se začala být takovým stěžejním místem pro tuto myšlenku, že my tady musíme dělat pokrok a ty možnosti jsou neomezené.
Because America experienced a lot of success in early few centuries or decades. They experienced a lot of success in this.
Protože Amerika zažívala mnoho úspěchů v těch prvních obdobích tady v tu dobu.
And it was thought that America is exceptional. There are bounty of natural resources and that we can expand our territories. So this still today we see in the American people's psychology, this idea of progress is very deeply ingrained.
A tam bylo, že možnosti získávání nových a nových zdrojů a nových prostě pozemků a tak dále. A ten expanze toho rozvoje byla velice jakoby výjimečná tam a vidíme do dneška v myslích Američanů, jak je tady ten koncept toho pokroku velice silně zakořeněn.
Yeah. Now, in the beginning of the Enlightenment era, the idea of progress was including every aspect of life, that morality will also improve with the progress, peace will be there with progress, people will not fight with each other. So in every sphere, there will be progress. That was the initial idea during the Enlightenment era.
A během toho osvícenství, tak ta myšlenka toho pokroku zahrnovala všechno, nejenom materiální pokrok, ale taky to, jak budeme mít klidnou mysl a bude se zvyšovat i morální hodnoty a lidé spolu nebudou tolik bojovat a bude nám celkově na tom světě líp. Zahrnovalo to všechno.
But after some time it was observed that increase in the moral condition and peace and all these things are failure. It's not happening. So therefore, presently, the idea of progress became limited to material progress, economic development.
A jelikož bylo viděno, že toto se neděje, že by jsme byli více v klidu, měli jsme vyšší morální hodnoty, bylo více míru na světě a tak dále, tak se ten pokrok začal stotožňovat pouze s ekonomickým a materiálním pokrokem.
So therefore today, progress is evaluated in terms of a nation's GDP and per capita GDP of the citizens of that nation.
A proto dneska se pokrok civilizace počítá podle hrubého národního produktu a hrubého národního produktu na osobu. A tak se definuje pokrok civilizace.
And there is a thought that with this economic development, people will become more and more happy.
A pořád je tady ta myšlenka, že s tímto ekonomickým rozvojem lidé budou více a více šťastní.
So this phase is termed as affluenza. There is influenza and then there is affluenza. With affluent lifestyle will make people happy and this has become like a pandemic.
A toto se stalo takzvanou affluenzou a že vlastně celá tato myšlenka, že takto budou lidi šťastní, se stala pandemií.
So with this material affluence being the goal, there were primarily three different ways in which now modern society we are trying to become happy in three different ways.
A tady ta posedlost tím materiálním požitkem, tak se dneska projevuje zvláště ve třech způsobech.
One side, fossil energy derived from petrol and other fossil fuels.
A první je fosilní energie z ropy a dalších podobných paliv.
It is replacing the human labor.
A ta nahrazuje lidskou práci.
So by that it is expected that our life will become more and more comfortable, better and happier.
A tak se očekává, že náš život bude takto velice pohodlný, bude pohodlnější, nebude muset tolik pracovat a budeme tím pádem šťastnější.
Another aspect of increased material affluence is that by science and technology, we will improve the efficiency and thereby reduce the cost of production.
A další bod je, že naším pokrokem technologickým zvýšíme efektivnost všech našich operací a tím snížíme tu nákladovost na ně.
And when the cost is reduced, then the consumption will increase. Therefore, this has indirectly resulted in consumerism. People are now can easily consume more and more things because cost has got reduced because of science and technology.
A když se ta cena sníží, tak nám je možnost přístup k daleko většímu množství věcí a pak se stává společnost konzumní, jako je tomu dnes, a lidé mají přístup ke konzumování mnoha a mnoha věcí, jelikož ta cena jejich byla snížena tím moderním vývojem.
Like in my life also I have seen in my early days in India a car will be affordable only by very rich people. That means very few people could afford having cars.
Já si pamatuju, tady v Indii, když jsem byl malý, tak auto v Indii mít, tak to bylo dostupné jenom pro velice bohatý lidi, jenom pár lidí mělo auto.
But today practically an average Indian is able to afford car.
A dneska prakticky každý průměrný Ind může mít auto.
And the same is true everywhere throughout the world.
A tak je to po celém světě.
Another effect of this material affluence and the concomitant science and technology is that the idea that we invent newer and newer and newer products by using our science and technology.
A další aspekt té materiální affluence je, že vyvíjíme nové a nové a nové produkty tím naším technologickým pokrokem a výzkumem.
Gadgets which are supposed to give us experience which we have never had before, and in this way increase our quality of life and the standard of living like anything.
A ty různé přístroje, které používáme, které mají nám dát takové zážitky v životě, které jsme předtím vůbec nemohli zažívat, a tak si budeme moci užívat toho života jako nikdy předtím.
Can anyone tell me an idea, ballpark idea, how many new products are invented today per week?
Dokáže někdo říct nějaký jako návrh, kolik nových věcí je zaváděno do společnosti nebo vynalézáno každý týden?
Any guess?
Nějaký odhad?
108.
There is a guess, 108. I think it won't be so auspicious number.
Exact number I don't know, but it is beyond 8,000 per week.
Nevím přesné číslo, ale je to okolo 8,000, no přes 8,000 týdně.
This is more than the total number of new inventions in the whole 19th century.
To je větší číslo než číslo všech nových vynálezů za celé 19. století.
So just consider this passion to invent newer and newer products, to what an extent it has reached that now in 1 week we are inventing more products than what we could do in the whole 1 century.
Tak si představte tu vášeň, která zatím je, ta posedlost, že budeme mít nový a nový vynálezy, nový a nový produkty, že teďka za týden vyprodukujeme víc novinek, než jsme vyprodukovali za celé 19. století.
Now, there is a concept which is called planned obsoletism. That means companies, they plan that their products will become obsolete and they will come up with newer and newer models of the same product with minor changes.
A tady je ještě takový koncept plánované obsolence, což znamená, že se prostě plánuje, ty společnosti plánují, že ty jejich výrobky, ty novinky budou postupně zastaralé a nemoderní a lidé budou chtít zase nové.
For example, a company comes up with a model of smartphone, and then after a few months, it will launch a new model with a very slight change. And then after some time, and then the previous model will become obsolete, and everyone will buy the new model.
A například ta společnost vyrobí nový telefon a smartphone a ten za pár měsíců potom udělá nový, který bude mít trošku něco navíc a tam ten už bude zastaralý a všichni si koupí ten nový.
The previous model, it was working, all the functions were being done, but the new model has some new features.
A ten starý funguje, všechno to vykonává jak má, ale ten nový model má nějaký nový vlastnosti, nový možnosti.
So actually we don't need that new model, but then still the company who has manufactured, that is planned, so now they have to convince people that you need this new model.
A my nepotřebujeme ten nový model, ale samozřejmě ta společnost už má celý plán, jak nás přesvědčit, že ho potřebujeme.
Therefore, there is a whole industry, advertising industry, marketing industry, whose only job is to convince people to have newer and newer models, to more and more things which they don't need, but they create the need.
A proto je celý obrovský průmysl reklam a tady toho marketingu, kde se spoustu lidí zabývá tím, jak přesvědčit všechny lidi, že i když nemají tu potřebu, tak tu potřebu pro vás vytvoří, abyste to potřebovali.
So we are living in an age where needs are being created. These are called artificial needs.
A žijeme ve věku, v době, kdy naše potřeby jsou vytvářeny a říká se tomu umělé, nepřirozené potřeby.
And by advertisement and by media, different ways, people are convinced that with more acquisition of more and more products, you will become happier.
A celá ta mentalita prostě narůstá v tom, že čím více toho budete mít, čím více budete mít všech různých produktů, tak tím budete šťastnější.
But a study has been done to find out what is the relationship between having more and more gadgets to the psychological well-being of a person.
Ale byla provedena studie, jaký má vztah to vlastnění mnoha různých těchto vynálezů a novinek a přístrojů ve vztahu k tomu štěstí dané osoby.
So in this survey, they surveyed the 400 most rich people in America. They were all billionaires.
A dělali výzkum asi na 400 miliardářích v Americe.
And on the other hand, from some very undeveloped country somewhere in Africa, so they conducted a survey where they evaluated people's psychological well-being.
A pak z nějaké chudé země někde v Africe a dělali výzkum, kde zhodnocovali to psychické blaho těch lidí, které zažívali.
So there is some scale, some of gradation. So they found that in both these groups, the psychological well-being grade is similar. That means the billionaires grade and the grade of those people who are very poor, the psychological well-being grade is similar.
A ta úroveň toho psychologického štěstí byla ve skutečnosti zjištěna, že je u těch obou skupin velice podobná.
So by such similar studies, what some scientists or investigators, they have found that there is a threshold level where one can fulfill his basic needs. Till then, the happiness level increases with the acquirement of, till we achieve that level.
A zjistili tady tyhle věci, které to zkoumají, že tady je určitá, jako bych řekl, úroveň vnímaného štěstí z toho, že naplňujeme ty základní svoje životní potřeby a do té míry, do které se nám postupně jako víc a víc naplňují životní potřeby, tam se to štěstí jakoby zvyšuje.
But beyond that threshold level, when one's basic needs are fulfilled, then having more and more affluence, having more and more wealth, having more and more gadgets doesn't proportionately increase your psychological well-being.
Ale jakmile dosáhneme té roviny toho, že všechny naše životní potřeby je o ně postaráno a máme je bez problému zajištěny, tak potom zvyšování všeho toho materiálního komfortu a získávání mnoha dalších zdrojů požitků už úměrně nepřidává na té naší spokojenosti.
So there is a person, Maslow, who has defined that the needs of the people throughout different civilizations, they are very less and they are similar of different people, different times, different civilizations.
A nějaký Veslo tak dělal výzkum a zjistil, že v různých civilizacích ty potřeby všech lidí jsou obecně velice základní, nízké a je to vesměs stejné, dost podobné ve všech různých místech a dobách.
So when it comes to needs, so he has defined in terms of physiological needs, that means needs pertain to body, then the mental needs, the need for affection and the society like that, and then the spiritual needs, that means for some higher purpose, to do good to others, like that. 3 varieties of needs.
Takže on to rozdělil na nějaké 3 základní potřeby, jako jsou ty fyziologické, které potřebujeme, aby naše tělo fungovalo, nějaké mentální, sociální potřeby, které máme, a pak nějaký duchovní, nějaký cíle a vyšší cíle, kterých chceme dosáhnout.
So he says that whether it is Europe, whether it is Africa, whether it is America, India, whether it is today's time, whether it was 1,000 years before, 2,000 years before, these needs remain more or less constant.
A on říká, ať už je to v Evropě, nebo v Africe, nebo v Indii, nebo v Americe, ať už to bylo dneska nebo před tisícemi let, tak ty potřeby zůstávají vesměs konstantní.
But then there's another thing called wants. These wants are unlimited.
A pak je další věc, která kromě těch potřeb, a to jsou chtění. Takže to, co my chceme, tak to prakticky nemá žádná omezení.
So he said that human psychology is such that these wants can be unlimited, and therefore newer and newer products, they cater to the human wants and not to the human needs, and therefore they can just go on producing newer and newer and newer products, and there is always market for it. People can go on buying newer and newer, but there is no end to it because there is no end to human wants.
A jelikož tyto přání lidí, to chtění je neomezený, tak vlastně není žádný limit toho, co všechno se pořád může vymýšlet a zavádět a vytvářet, a nové produkty budou pořád kupovány, pořád to lidé budou chtít, protože jejich přání nemají žádné meze.
Now all these things is not new to us. From our scriptures, from Srila Prabhupada books, from Bhagavad Gita, we know it's greed. There is when we are greedy, then this whole world is also not sufficient for us. So how this idea of simple living is just when we are targeting our needs. So that's what Srila Prabhupada taught us, that we should be satisfied with our basic needs. That is a simple life.
A tohle to samozřejmě pro nás není nic nového, celé tyto koncepty, protože to známe z našich písem od Srila Prabhupády, víme, že to je jenom greed, teda chamtivost, jenom nekonečná chamtivost člověka. A když máme mluvit o jednoduchém životě, tak Srila Prabhupáda nás učí, že právě se máme vzdát tady této chamtivosti, toho chtění neustálých věcí a spokojit se se základními potřebami životními. To je ten jednoduchý život.
So it is good to see that some thoughtful people are by their own analysis also coming to this conclusion, which very easily we learn from Vedic culture and scriptures.
A je to dost jako povzbuzující a zajímavé, že když vidíme, že takto i nějací jiní lidé, kteří velice upřímně hledají jakoby pravdu, tak přicházejí k podobným závěrům, k jakým nás už dávno vedou naše védská písma.
So earlier the slogan was necessity is the mother of invention, but now the slogan is invention is the mother of necessity.
Takže dřív byl slogan naše potřeby jsou matkou vynálezů, ale dneska je to obráceně, vynálezy jsou matkou našich potřeb.
So this is a summary study of our modern present civilization, where people are just being driven to consume more and more and more, and thereby we are just destroying this whole mother nature.
A to je jen takové samozřejmě shrnutí celé této moderní civilizace, kdy lidé chtějí konzumovat víc a víc a víc a tak postupně jenom vykořisťují a ničí celé to prostředí, v kterém se nacházíme.
So this is a very big misunderstanding which is leading the whole world towards creating hellish conditions even in this present life.
A to celé nepochopení je velice klíčové pro vytváření velice pekelných podmínek už v tomto životě, které tady můžeme zažívat.
So I will just read a few sentences from Srila Prabhupada to this effect.
Tady k tomu přečtu ještě pár vět od Šrily Prabhupády.
This is from Bhagavatam 4:29-32. Purport.
Bhagavatam 4:29-32 význam.
The descendants of monkeys completely forget that they had to die.
Sentence.
Descendants.
No. Potomci opic úplně zapomínají na to, že mají umřít.
Srila Prabhupada is sarcastically talking about Darwin, the descendants of monkeys, those who believe in Darwin.
To Prabhupada sarcasticky mluví o Darwinovi a těch, kteří v něj věří, nebo mu věří.
And they are very proud of scientific knowledge and the progress of material civilization.
A jsme velice pyšní na hmotný pokrok a pokrok hmotné civilizace.
The word gramya karma indicates activities meant only for the improvement of bodily comforts.
Termín gramya karma označuje činnosti, které jsou určeny pouze pro zvyšování tělesného pohodlí.
Presently, all human society is engaged in improving economic conditions and bodily comforts.
V současné době lidská společnost jenom zvyšuje ekonomiku a tělesné pohodlí.
People are not interested in knowing what is going to happen after death.
A lidé se vůbec nezajímají o to, co se má stát po smrti.
Nor do they believe in the transmigration of the soul.
Stejně tak jako nevěří v transmigraci duše.
Sorry, I told the verse wrong. This is Bhagavatam 5:14-31.
To je Bhagavatam 5:14-31 ve skutečnosti.
And now I will read the quote from 4:29-32.
A teďka bude Bhagavatam 4:29-32.
One should simply try to develop his Krishna consciousness and not waste his time trying to improve his material condition.
Člověk by se měl jenom snažit rozvíjet své vědomí Kršny a neplýtvat časem na své hmotné pohodlí.
Actually, the material condition cannot be improved.
Ve skutečnosti ty hmotné podmínky, ve kterých žijeme, se nedají zlepšit.
The process of improvement means accepting another miserable condition.
Ten proces toho zlepšování znamená přijmout další mizerné podmínky života.
Just see how Srila Prabhupada so nicely explains that process of improvement means accepting another miserable condition. That is, by our progress, we are actually creating more and more problems.
Vidíme, jak tady Prabhupada úžasně podchycuje celý, že my tím, že se snažíme zlepšit naše životní podmínky, jenom zvyšujeme další utrpení, tím, že vlastně tím pokrokem vlastně vytváříme mnoho dalších problémů.
And therefore, there is no such thing as improving materially. You cannot improve materially. Only thing you can improve is you can improve spiritually.
Proto nemůžeme nic zlepšit materiálně. Jediný způsob, jak můžeme něco zlepšit, je duchovně.
Therefore, Srila Prabhupada books and the ideas there are actually revolutionary.
Proto Prabhupádovy knížky a ty myšlenky tam předložené jsou skutečně revoluční.
And that revolution began with introducing Krishna consciousness, and the second aspect of that revolution is to live simply, to show people that you are all misdirected and human beings are supposed to live simply.
A První část této revoluce, ano, je rozšířit toto poznání mezi všechny lidi a svaté jméno a tak dále. A druhá část této revoluce je žít jednoduše a ukázat lidem, že jsou velice svedení a že by měli žít úplně jinak.
Prabhupada says further, however, if we endeavor to improve our Krishna consciousness, the distresses of material life will disappear without extraneous endeavor.
A Prabhupada pokračuje, když budeme rozvíjet naše vědomí Kršny, tak to utrpení a těžkosti hmotného života postupně odejdou bez jakéhokoliv vedlejšího vykonaného úsilí.
So, what does this all mean to us devotees?
Co to teda všechno znamená pro nás, pro oddané?
Two things. First, simple living means less complications, less anxieties, and less difficulties.
Takže první věc, jednoduché žití, znamená ještě jednou, once more, three less things.
Favor less complications,
Méně komplikací,
less anxieties,
méně úzkosti
and less difficulties.
a méně těžkostí.
Yes. Sometimes it may appear to us that, in simple living, there are so many difficulties, so many anxieties here, but we have to actually see the whole picture. The world, the difficulties, the modern civilizations having are very, very grave compared to the difficulties what we are facing in living a simple life.
A i když se to může zdát, že jsou tam těžkosti při tom jednoduchém životě a že to je náročné a tak dále, tak musíme vidět celkový ten obrázek, že ten svět jako takový čelí daleko větším těžkostem a výzvám, než čelí lidé, kteří žijí jednoduchým životem.
And that too, most of the problems that we are facing in establishing in living simple life is because of we have gone far away from that lifestyle. We have forgotten how to live that way. Major part of the problem comes from that.
A ve skutečnosti ten hlavní problém, proč je to tak těžké žít ten jednoduchý život, je právě způsoben tím, že se ta civilizace tak daleko oddálila od toho původního jednoduchého života. A když se k tomu chceme vrátit, je už to zapomenuto a to vlastně vytváří většinu toho, co je na tom životě těžkého.
But on the path of this so-called progress, there are problems like complete economic crash, environmental devastation. They are huge problems. They are huge problems. They are nothing compared to the small difficulties that we are actually facing in establishing this simple.
Ale v tom velkém měřítku toho, kam tato civilizace směřuje, tak ta čelí daleko větším výzvám a problémům, kde hrozí úplný ekonomický kolaps, kde hrozí vlastně ekologická, environmentální katastrofa. To jsou obrovské problémy ve vztahu k těm problémům, které zažíváme my, když se snažíme ustanovovat tyto varnášramské projekty.
Another important thing is, on the path of progress, they will create problems. By technology, they will solve those problems. Further, for the next generation, they will create some more new problems. And this chain will go on and on and on.
A v tom technologickém vývoji oni tím technologickým pokrokem vytváří problémy, pak je začnou nějakou technologii řešit, vytvoří nové problémy pro další generaci a tak to znovu se to snaží řešit a tím vytvoří další problémy a ten cyklus pokračuje neustále dál.
But on the path of living a simple life, once we understand, once we learn a particular thing, for example, we learn to grow food, then it is solved for all generations because it in itself will not create any new problem. So that is a big difference between the path of progress and the path of real progress, the simple life.
A když se snažíme my dělat pokrok na té cestě toho jednoduchého života a soběstačnosti, tak když vyřešíme nějaký problém, například naučíme se pěstovat vlastní jídlo, no pak už to máme vyřešeno na všechny generace dopředu a toto samotná věc, tento pokrok vlastně nevede k žádným dalším problémům, on žádné další problémy nevytváří.
Second important conclusion to be drawn for devotees is that it is essential for spiritual progress to understand the strong correlation between materialism and spiritualism.
A další věc je důležitá pochopit pro náš duchovní pokrok je ten vztah mezi materialismem a spiritualismem.
If we are living a simple life, that means we are not going towards materialism. That just by in itself, intrinsically, it will help us in our spiritual life.
Pokud žijeme vlastně ten jednoduchý s přírodou spjatý život, velice základní, tak přirozeně úplně automaticky to bude zvyšovat ten zájem a schopnost k duchovnímu životu.
And with that help, we should do the most important thing for spiritual advancement, that is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
A měli bychom zpívat Hare Krishna Mahamantru s tím vším, protože to je nejesenciálnější věc pro to, aby jsme mohli udělat duchovní pokrok.
So this is the need of the hour, long felt need, and this is the need of our movement. We should very seriously take up this movement of establishing simple life and high thinking.
A to je to, co je skutečně potřeba, co potřebujeme a co naše hnutí tak dlouho a moc potřebuje, aby jsme opravdu velice vážně se snažili ustanovit tyto principy jednoduchého života, hlubokého myšlení a soběstačnosti varnášramy.
Such discussions, such churning is very helpful amongst us.
Takové diskuze, takové kvedlání je pro nás velice nápomocné.
Because we have to keep our determination to go in that direction of establishing simple living always strong.
Protože my si musíme držet to odhodlání, abychom mohli kráčet tímto směrem pro ustanovení jednoduchého života, aby to odhodlání zůstávalo silné.
So with that end in my mind, purpose in my mind, I thought, let me speak on this so that our determination remains fresh.
A s touto myšlenkou ve své mysli jsem mluvil na toto téma, aby to naše odhodlání zůstalo neustále osvěžené a čerstvé.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any comments, Sankirtan Prabhu, or any question from anybody?
Otázky, komentáře. První Oklekeš, pak Daranidara.
Mě jen zajímalo, když se podíváme do historie na ty civilizace, které my považujeme za primitivní z dnešního pohledu, tak tam jsou taky spoustu staveb a nástrojů, které jsou velice jako technologicky dneska nedokážeme ani vyrobit, tak jak je to s tou primitivností a nebo s tou jednoduchostí z těch dávných civilizací. Tam musela být taky nějaká technologie.
When we look at old civilizations, we say that they were more simple or maybe primitive, but we also see that they have so many interesting technologies which we can't explain today, or for like constructions or buildings and like that. So how much they were really simple, or how much they were focused on actually some technological development, because it looks that some technological development was going on there.
Yeah. The difference between the technologies of that time and today's time are primarily the previous technologies, they could be developed locally, and today's the science and technology, it needs globalization.
Tak základní rozdíl mezi těmi technologiemi těch dob a dnešními je, že tehdejší technologie mohly být rozvinuty na lokální úrovni, ale dnešní technologie vyžadují ke svému fungování globalizaci.
And another difference is that technology was primarily to aid our needs, but today's technology is now more and more targeted for artificial needs.
A taky ty technologie více se zabývaly tím tehdejší, aby naplnily naše potřeby, kdežto moderní technologie akorát, nebo se hlavně zaměřují na to, aby vytvářely umělé potřeby.
And another difference was that if we see the Vedic culture, there were yogic siddhis, but they were available to those who will only use it for welfare of others and not for destructive purposes.
A další věc, kterou můžeme vidět, je, že ve védských dobách byly jogové siddhy, ale ty byly dostupné pouze lidem, kteří to byli schopni použít pro blaho ostatních, nikoliv pro zničení ostatních.
Like there was Surabhi cow with Vasishtha Muni, and the purpose for which he was using the milk of that cow was to perform sacrifices and not running a dairy business by which he can become millionaire.
Jako když máme krávu Surabhi, krávu přání, tak když Vasišta Muni měl, tak ji používal na to, aby mohl vykonávat oběti, ne kvůli tomu, aby si otevřel obrovskou mlékárnu a stal se miliardářem na základě prodeje mléka.
But today we are giving technology in the hands of people who are morally corrupt, and therefore they misuse it for sense gratification, unnecessary sense gratification, and create havoc for the whole society.
Ale v současné době dáváme technologii do ruk velice zkažených, morálně zkažených lidí a oni tou technologií pak vytváří ve společnosti pouze chaos a využívají jenom k velice zbytečnému smyslovému požitku a tak dále.
So if there is a technology which can be developed locally, used locally, then and if it is targeted for the basic needs, then it is okay.
Takže pokud je tady nějaká technologie, která může být rozvinuta lokálně a je mířená na zajištění nějakých základních životních potřeb, tak pak je v pořádku.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. I have a question. In earlier, when you started speech, you said when we get greedy in regards to the materialistic, so the level of spirituality decreases and the level of materialistic greed increases. So how to keep the balance where like we came in a certain point, let's say I have a wife, I have a family, I have my child, so I have to provide to my family in certain way. The standard living of lifestyle also has been in such a way where I cannot leave it. I cannot I cannot leave it and go to a completely separate path where I cannot just relieve myself from the materialistic.
Excuse me, Sankirtan Prabhu, I am not able to hear that so clearly, so you will need to repeat that.
Okay. So how?
Come here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My name is Amit. I'm from India. My name is Amit. And in the beginning, you said when our greed increases, our spirituality decreases. And somewhere, let's say, if I think about myself, I came to in such a lifestyle where I have a family, I have a child, and something I cannot leave it. So how to keep the balance where I have the balance in regards to having the spirituality, kindness, and contributing to the society, and yet I am able to keep the balance in regards to the materialistic world as well.
Yes. This question often comes for devotees, how to strike the balance between our material life and spiritual life.
Exactly.
Takže často přichází tato otázka mezi oddanými, jak udělat ten balans mezi naším duchovním a materiálním životem.
These farm communities are the perfect answer for this question, how to strike the balance.
A tyto farmářské komunity jsou dokonalou odpovědí na tuto otázku, jak dosáhnout té rovnováhy.
So if we live in such communities, in association of devotees, producing our own food, we very well take care of our family. At the same time, spiritually, we will be enlivened. So this is the perfect place and the way how we strike balance between our material needs and spiritual needs.
Takže když žijeme v takových komunitách, tak potom máme zajištění, děláme ty materiální věci, aby jsme mohli fungovat velice jednoduchým způsobem a zároveň jsme ve společnosti ostatních oddaných a náš duchovní život může být velice silný. A tímto způsobem je to dokonalé řešení, to nejlepší řešení, které můžeme udělat pro to balancování těchto dvou věcí.
Now, from your present situation, wherever you are doing some job, I don't know exactly what you are doing, from that particular position, it may not happen overnight, this shift, and so that may take some time, but ultimately this is the answer. This is the way how we can strike the balance.
A to, samozřejmě ve tvé situaci, kdy ty máš pravděpodobně nějaký zaměstnání a tak dále, tak tohle se nestane přes noc, taková změna. Ale v tom konečném slova smyslu, tak tohle je to konečné řešení, ke kterému bychom měli směřovat. To nám může umožnit ten skutečný balans.
Did this help you?
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, धन्यवाद.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Darindra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Savyasachi Prabhu. Do you hear me? Shall I
Yes.
come?
Yeah, a little closer.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Damodar Prabhu.
I just was thinking about you said about this period of Renaissance, how they replace God by human being. We can see this very clearly in especially in art and music, because this influenced mass of people. So before they saw that God creates everything, so the God is supreme, but now we are supreme. So our God is supreme, everything is supreme. So especially in art, you can see that they start before they make the pictures of the God, of some demigods and cultures, but then they start to, yeah.
Very true, very true. Even that Sorokin, that particular person, he has also mentioned this. In arts and culture, we can see this difference clearly. How the previous art was depicting God and everything, and now it's just that. Very true. That's true.
Yes.
Thank you for that comment.
It's still going on.
Yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Okay. So is it dark there now, or is it? I hope it's dark still, correct?
No.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You see the house?
Yeah. Nice, beautiful.
So it's already light.
Okay. And what's the temperature like outside?
Today is a little cooler than the last week. It's about, but it's not so cold. It's now it was 4 degrees.
Oh, I see. Not so.
Or above
Okay.
zero. Yeah. The freezing is almost over.
Okay.
Not very strong winter this year.
Acha. Okay. Okay.
I mean, there was -10 like that in January. When we came from India, actually, it was very cold in December. It was a lot of snow and very cold. But
Okay.
the February is supposed to be under the snow, but there is no snow anywhere.
Acha.
It melted last week.
Okay. Nice.
Okay,
Good to see you
Prabhu,
all. Yeah.
this I just saw one video. I not sure I remember it from you. This name, this Vandan Shiva, this Mataji,
Yes.
she is like in our line regarding farming and everything.
Yes.
She's good in this, yeah.
She's an activist who promotes that we should save our seeds, and she's against the modern corporate farming and how these people are destroying the traditional way of farming. She's an activist.
Okay, so we have something to learn from her, or not so much in detail?
I mean, conceptually, the ideas, how
Okay.
this modernization is destroying. So that conceptual, that idea, she very nicely explains.
Okay.
As far as the practical things, they have a seed bank in Dehradun in India, her place. So different people can take seeds from their this thing. So, but it may not be useful for you there.
Yeah, of course, we are different.
Yeah.
We need our own seeds. It was interesting, but I have seen maybe she is also a feminist, isn't it?
That may be also. I have not seen.
I have seen some like eco-feminism, some promoting to protect our nature with our ladies and from our men and industry, something like that.
Yeah, actually, what happened in India, there was at one point a movement called Chipko movement.
Chipko.
So Chipko. So Indian government to make one dam, they were cutting trees. So these women of that village, they hugged the trees. They embraced the trees. That is called chipko. They hugged the trees. And
Yes, she
thereby
spoke
they,
about this.
yeah. And they
Come to me.
prevented people to cut the trees. So mostly ladies took part in that. So therefore she is relating that.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably. Yeah. Jai. Okay, you are in South India now. Where in Kurmagram, somewhere around, or Hyderabad?
I was in Kurmagram just 2 days before. I was there for a week. And now I have come to Vellore.
Okay.
Because we are doing some youth preaching here from Bhopal. There is a big institute here, Vellore Institute of Technology.
Uh-huh.
So I just came for a few days here, and then now day after tomorrow I'll be going to Salem for 2 days.
Okay.
And then back to Nandagram I will be going.
Okay. Jai.
Yeah.
And what about your visit this year?
Well, I think Keshav Prabhu is coming this year.
He is coming in April.
Yeah. So, and Sannyas Ministry may send me to Nigeria and Ghana. I think I told you.
Okay. Yeah. Told me probably.
So maybe if you think it all right, maybe this year Keshav Prabhu can come and I can come next year.
Well, latest, because last time we also had this logic and it took 5 years or 6.
But
So
Corona was there actually.
Corona was also the problem, but when the Corona started, already 3 years or 4 years passed from your last visit. So okay, we can maybe this year do it like you suggest. Let us think about it, and also okay. You have this yeah. But latest next year, I think we need more regular, because farm is developing and devotees are increasing, and we need more regular.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Sure. I my first priority are farms.
Otherwise, I will, with me they will not survive. But when you come, everything is more nice.
You feel like that. It's your greatness.
Yeah, I and them, we feel like.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Pranams to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Se to vypíná.